Hi everyone, Three-Toed Steve and I are riding in Smyrna, Georgia on a lovely afternoon. Thought we would take you along with us on a little ride. I was watching one of the guys I sub the other day, and he so kindly recruited me to participate in this 10 questions that motovloggers should answer, or or invited to answer. I guess that's the best way. And that's the way I'm taking it. I feel like I'm invited to answer it. I've seen other people do this, and I don't know where the original link came from. Perhaps I'll be able to find it and post it if I'm not too lazy when I get back from the ride. But excuse me. But the questions are, pretty straightforward, pretty easy, I think. And so I'll take a crack at it. And I've got them on my tank bag here, and so when I get a chance to stop, like at a stop sign or such, I'll try to pick up a new topic, pick up the next question, and we'll go from there. The first question is, does my bike have a name? Well, yes, it does. In general, I've had a number of bikes, and I've only ever named 2. And the only reason I ever named them was because, well, really, my wife named them. But that's really the reason. My wife named them. I never named them before. I don't put that much personality into a bike. I mean, I do consider one a he or a she. This is definitely a she. And don't ask me why, she just is. Some bikes are just that way. My Yamaha R1 that I was riding just before I bought this, slip back, Steve, I can't see the speedometer. That was definitely a he. But this bike's name is Baby. So, in case you want to know, the Spider's name is Charlotte, after the spider in Charlotte's Web. And also because my wife and I met in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's got a lot of meaning there. Okay, question 2. What motovlogging channels do I sub to? Well, obviously, I sub to Pete F, because he's the guy who got me into this. And if I didn't mention it before this, Pete, forgive me. I'll go back and put it up on the screen regardless. Pete, the guy who got me into motovlogging, got me interested in it, was Sean Smoke, as he has done with so many other people. I started watching his channel, and I really loved the scenery and his easygoing manner. Sean's just a good guy. You can sit down with the whole family and watch Sean, and everybody enjoys it. All the guys that Sean went to, has gone on his trips with, to Utah, and such, Triple X Deadhead, and Gabe, I can't remember what your channel is. Maybe I'll be able to put it on the bottom here. But somebody, Giant Midget Moto, a lot of the other guys I have met through Sean's channel, people that commented on him, and then a lot of people, and of course I've subbed a lot of people that have subbed me, that I've gone to their channels and seen something that I really like there. A lot of North Carolina vloggers, NC Stoney, Mike Haley 7. Oh gosh, I can't think of everybody. I'll try to put a list at the bottom of some of them, but guys all over. Rob Ash, Robert Robb, Skeggy Cruiser, Hepcat Harley, my adopted son in England. I literally watch too many. If I weren't retired, I couldn't even begin to watch all the videos that pop up on my subscription list every day, because you guys are real prolific, especially when the weather gets good. I might have 40 or 50 videos to watch every day that pop up on my subscriptions list, because maybe I sub too many people. I don't know. Maybe I ought to be a little more selective, but I really like to watch all the guys that I'm watching. And so I guess that'll answer that question. When did I start motovlogging? I'd have to go back and look at my first video. I think I've been doing this about maybe 3 years now. Let's see, I've been retired 1.5 years. I think 3 years is probably pretty close to when I started. Of course, I've ridden all my life. I've been riding since I was, let's see, when did I, 18, 19, got my first motorcycle. And I've been riding all that time, but I never really, my motovlogging wasn't around back then. You strap a big giant camcorder to your head, that'd be like, strapping a loaf of bread to your head, if you want to get an idea of how big they were. And it weighed a hell of a lot more than a loaf of bread. But, I got into it just for fun. I saw all these guys doing it and thought, hey, that's pretty cool. I might try that. Just see, 'cause I like to talk. My job that I had, I talked to people all day. As you know, as the nature of my work, I was a salesman, and you miss it sometimes. Now, granted, I don't have anybody that can talk back to me right yet, but you guys will when we get to the comments, I'm sure. And so that's it. That's how I started, or when I started, I guess. Let me get up here and we'll get to the next question here, and I can figure out where I want to go. Oh, it's Cooper Lake. I know Cooper Lake. Alrighty. The next one. Have I ever fallen or had an accident? Yes, I have. Now, on the street, on my street bikes, the only thing I've ever done is I'd be stopped and my foot would slip out from under me, and I would simply, you know, step off the bike and lay her down. I've never had an accident at speed. I've never done a low side on a street bike or a high side. Never had any problems like that. I've never, you know, slid into anybody or anything like that. I was riding a new bike when I was in the motorcycle business one time on a test ride, and I was almost completely stopped. I was putting my foot down, and the front wheel hit a little bit of gravel, and it laid down on me that time too. But that doesn't really count. I've never been hurt on the street. That can't be said for on the dirt. I used to race motocross, and I did it until I ruined my knee on the last race that I ever rode in. I just decided it just wasn't worth it. Previous to that, I broke my collarbone twice while motocross racing. Other than that, you know, just riding around goofing off, never had a problem. You know, I might have had a slow impact with a tree or something riding in the woods, but nothing that even comes to mind. So, you know, I guess maybe that'll help answer that one for you. Okay, off-road or street? I'm strictly on the road now, unless you count some of the dirt roads that I end up getting this thing on every now and then when I'm following the GPS signal up in the mountains, or searching for a shortcut or a cut through. I just had to retire from off-road. I really loved it. I had a great time, but quite frankly, I wasn't a very good racer. I would get too caught up in it. You know, what do they say? You get the red mist. And I would get the red mist and just not even pay any attention to what I was doing or where I was going. I'd have it wicked wide open and I'd never let off, and that's how I broke my collarbone the first time. Went off a 30-foot anthill wide open on my little Hidaka 100. Anyway, that's a story for another day, and I actually told that story before. But so I'm strictly on the street now. Ride this old V-Star 1300 Yamaha, and my wife and I have the a 2013 Spider RT that she and I ride together, and we got that for her so that she would be comfortable riding, and she loves to ride. She just didn't like riding on this old girl that much, because on a motorcycle you have to lean. On the Spider you don't have to, and she didn't like leaning, so a lot of times she would fight me. You know how that is when you get somebody that's trying to stay upright when you're trying to lean into a corner. It makes for all kinds of interesting riding. Okay, what is my dream bike? Well, honestly, I have to say that I'm sitting on it. I never knew that this was my dream bike. I've had some great bikes. I had an XS 1100 Yamaha back in the day when they were just generic motorcycles, and it was blindingly fast, and it was a good touring bike. It was a lot of fun, and it was a heavy bitch. You know, then I had the R1, and the R1 was the exact opposite. All the power in the world, less than 400 pounds, flickable, you can flick it anywhere you want, absolutely unbelievable acceleration. Unbelievable. You know, you can 100 miles an hour in first gear. You know, you can do it if you revved it to the red line. Unbelievable. And they were all fantastic bikes, and I love those bikes. But you know, the first time I rode this bike, it maybe has something to do with my age, and you know, this time in my life, where I wanted something comfortable and something that felt like, you know, it just felt good to ride. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't the adventure of riding a monster motorcycle with all the power in the world, or slipping in and out of the trees, or you know, on the dirt bike, or jumping the jumps on the dirt bike. You know, I just wanted something that I could get on and just ride and go places, because I never really went much of anywhere. You know, I'd go around the house a lot. But this is actually my dream bike right here. It's a 2007 Yamaha V-Star 1300 touring model, and it came with the windshield, it came with the saddlebags. done some modifications to make it the best for me. I moved the controls forward 6 inches, which makes it just perfect for me. Got a backrest I can lean up against, and I can literally ride this motorcycle all day, get off of it, and would ride it again for a whole day if the need arose. It's just a blast. I love this motorcycle. See what else we got here. How many did I ride? How many motorcycles did I ride? Well, let's see. It's hard to say. I was in the motorcycle business. I did get to test ride all the new bikes. If I wanted to. I was in the motorcycle business. We sold Hadaka, Osa. Finally became a Rokon. We finally became a Suzuki dealer, which was our big line that we had. And I rode pretty much everything that they made at one time or another. Those were all through work. Personal bikes, I've ridden, maybe, I think I've probably ridden 10 personally. I mean, and I didn't own all of them. I mean, they just weren't associated with work. I've ridden some friends' bikes and things like that. But, that's a good number of bikes, I guess. But I did ride a whole lot, when I was in the business, and that was a lot of fun. I kind of share that with Sean Smoke. I mean, he gets to ride all the bikes he works on. He has to do test rides on them. And I wasn't a mechanic in the motorcycle business, but I was the parts and service manager, so I got to ride what I wanted to. But I never did take a new bike home. I was too poor and too responsible for that. But what was my first motorcycle? Well, I'm going to embarrass you because most people know this, but I don't know the year model of the first motorcycle I ever had. I'm thinking it was a 68 or 69 Honda SL350. Now, the SL350 was a twin cylinder. It was the exhaust. It wasn't really an up exhaust, but the exhaust tipped up and at the end, and so it was sort of marketed as a mildly on-off road bike, and I got it with the thought that I'd be able to ride it off-road and stuff like that. And if it was dry conditions and you had a not too bad road, or track that you were on, you could take the bike out there on that. But mostly I rode it on the street. I got it when I went off to college, and that was what I rode to school every day. See, with a motorcycle, you could park at the front door of your classroom. As a freshman with a car, I had to go all the way to I'd have to park all the way in the parking lot a couple of miles away and walk a couple of miles to get to classroom. So that was a no-brainer right there. Okay, getting close on the list here. Let's see, why did I start? I've always wanted a motorcycle. Ever since I was a little kid, I had a mini bike, I had a go-kart. I've always loved machinery of all kinds. I used to get in trouble all the time disassembling the lawnmower. When I was 7 or 8 years old, I'd find Dad's tools and go and start taking things apart. He was so happy when I got old enough to learn how to put them back together, because he wasn't mechanical. He'd always have to take it to somebody and get them to put it back together for him. And I got in a lot of trouble for that from time to time. But anyway, my folks were adamant that I could not have a motorcycle when I was living at home. That's just the way that it was. Oh, we got a plane going overhead somewhere, I think. But so I had to wait till I went off to school. Well, when I went off to school and saw the parking situation, I think as a freshman you were not even really allowed to have a car on campus. And my grandfather lived about 5 miles from the school, so I could take my car and park it there, and he'd give me a ride over to the school, and I'd pretty much walk around every place at the school. I didn't really need to go anywhere. I'd come home. Sometimes I'd come from school back to home on the weekends and stuff like that. But when I realized that the restriction didn't apply to motorcycles, and that I could park so close to my classrooms, that's when I realized, hey, this is golden. Start riding a motorcycle. So I rode in all kinds of weather. I rode, cold, hot, dry, rainy. I think I rode in the snow a couple of times, because it was how I had to get to. I didn't have any other way to get to school. So I guess that's why. Why did I start? What is this? When did you start? Oh, okay. Whoops. All right, well, I may have messed that up. This next one is, when did you start riding motorcycles? Well, I just answered that one. Why did I start? Okay, well, I guess I just answered both of those at the same time. I always wanted to, which is why, and when was when I went off to school. Okay, Pete, I hope this answers your questions. I might have to sit down one of these days and write a set of 10 questions of my own to ask to send out there on the blogosphere. And I would encourage anybody, you don't have to be 10 questions. If you're curious about anything, you know, put it out there. You know, I think you'll find that you'll get a good response from people on the internet. Okay, well, hopefully you got all the answers you need. I'm going to, if you guys want to participate, I hate to pick people. You know, I don't want to put pressure on anybody. I had time to do this, and I enjoyed doing this. I can't remember the people that Pete picked along with me. He's supposed to pick 3 people. I will. You guys, if you don't have time, fine. Don't worry about it. I'll pick Rob Ash, Robert Robb, and Hepcat Harley. Okay, those will be my 3. If you guys don't want to do it, don't feel bad, don't feel pressured. It's not a big deal. Anyway, again, riding some here in Smyrna, having a great day. Hope everybody else is too. Take care. Bye-bye.